You are permitted to fully admire the beauty called Oliver.
Hey everyone, Sari here, and welcome back to another week of late season offense matches. Oliver's been on a break for a while now, but his bonus seasons gave me a good excuse to let him take the spotlight again, and spoil him with some new skills and a full set of dragon flowers. He ended up having an absolutely brilliant week, sweeping every match and taking every combat along the way. Oliver's Refine was what convinced me to build him in the first place, and it still holds up pretty well today. The attack and res bonuses have very easily met conditions, and the post-combat heal is an invaluable source of sustain when handling multiple combats, and walling out melee while going pot hunting. The extra mobility he gets from herons is a hilarious extra perk, and comes in very useful in the right situations, letting him easily navigate the map. I decided on Glacies for his special this week, mostly for the absurdly high damage output it provides. He has a pretty easy time charging it up, too, thanks to the generous donations of his melee opponents. Attack speed unity is a great addition to Oliver's skill set, especially for light weeks. With Note still our only 7th slot enabler for dark defenses, most teams include an attack speed debuff, which makes the skill extremely consistent. The extra offensive stats are also really useful for Oliver, flipping most combat expectations on their heads and letting him take full advantage of his bulk. It also pairs really well with Null Follow-Up, which turns every fight into a normal speed check, and when he can reach an effective 75 speed, those checks are things he's going to win. Pulse Smoke, meanwhile, is a good way for Oliver to neutralize any annoying pre-charged specials if necessary, and also stop melee from having a chance to use specials while he stalls them out. The rest of the team is set up to support Oliver. Rayson, of course, is Oliver's unwilling best friend, enabling his weapon and providing a helpful bonus to his defenses. The start of turn healing is a nice extra boost as well. Milla and Error offer a set of sabotages that help tip the scales in Oliver's favor, along with the ability to isolate key targets, disarm pesky traps, and top Oliver's health off at the start of every turn. Peony offers some extra combat bonuses and dance support, and Dogger rounds things out by providing access to a full spectrum of visible buffs. I usually run Life and Death on her, but by taking it off, Oliver can actually soak Bright Shrines this week. Now that we've gone over the team, let's get to the first match. This match is going to be a fun way to start the week with a bonus week legendary Byleths for Oliver to handle, along with the legendary Leif, who's also in season, a Selena, and a bonus week Sothis, and all backed up by 2 dancers, with an Eldigan, who's very heavily invested for defense and is actually out of range of even bonus week Millas. And rounding the team out with a legendary Azura. It's a fun setup. I'm not sure how much threat it pushes out on the first turn, which is fine, not every team needs to. And they do have a pretty solid amount of follow-up, with Azura and Eldigan for dances and 2 ranged cavalry on top. Byleth himself is actually a very nasty threat in his bonus week, and can get a lot of work done. Well, at least if he doesn't turn into an Oliver. I'm going to take this first turn just to set up and wait for wave skills to come online.
Don't you worry.
If you say so.
Get Dogger behind Oliver.
Let us go.
Let Rayson move here.
Caress.
And I'll have Peony and Milla
Like this.
open things up. While Milla can't actually isolate Eldigan here, I'm okay with that. The point here is just to isolate Selena so that she can't use her attack res rally on Byleth, which would be enough to let him survive Oliver without a special being involved.
Right, boss?
From here, it's actually pretty straightforward. We're just going to smite Oliver forward,
Good morning.
move Peony
Yes?
and Rayson in to support him,
Don't you
and then
worry.
have him move in and one-shot Sothis. We don't have to worry about the Panic Manor here, since Oliver just has too much HP, or even the most leveled Panic Manors to do anything to him. And while Byleths does actually get to recharge his Sublime Heaven here, I don't think he's going to get a chance to use it, since Note should end up attacking before he gets a chance to.
The glimmer of life.
And from here, we're just
Like
going
this.
to move around a bit and watch the fireworks. Note's Menace is very considerate, giving Oliver a nice boost to his attack and speed. And, as expected, Note ends up moving in first because she's the only one who doesn't die. Another rally comes through, and a dance. Note attacks again and can actually get some damage to stick this time, thanks to not having a Tamari debuff. But it's not really enough for Oliver to be too concerned. And, well, without even a Sublime Heaven to work with,
Admire my poise.
Byleths is not having a good time with this fight. And then the isolated Selena moves in and heals us back to full health. It was a really clean first turn, and at this point, the trick is just about making sure we pick up these two Aether pots before we close out the match. I'd like to leave Eldigan to be the last one surviving, since he's the easiest one for Oliver to tank. But what's the fun in that? We'll just have Oliver take Eldigan out here. It'll take 2 hits thanks to Courtly Candle, but that's not a big deal.
What now?
We'll dance him and let him one-shot a Surret next, which reduces their team
Admire my poise.
to just Note and Leif. Leif is going to be easy enough for Oliver to handle in the next phase, and Note's never going to break through Oliver by herself.
It will be done.
From here, we're just going to start moving into position to pick these pots up. Air can open this up, Leif can't reach her from here.
Maybe this
I'm gonna move Dogger
Good
forward
morning.
and let Peony Denser give Oliver a few more stats to handle the enemy phase. Yep. Note attacks in, manages to scratch Oliver a little bit, but Leif isn't going to accomplish anything here, except healing Oliver to full health and recharging Glacies.
The glimmer
And
of
from here,
life.
it's pretty straightforward to just pick these pots up. Although we'll
Right, boss.
do a couple of shenanigans
my
just to
blessing.
give Oliver the biggest possible Glacies
Don't you worry.
to close out the match in style.
Stunning, aren't I?
And down she goes. That was a fun way to start the week. Let's see what we get next. This second match is going to be a very interesting one. I haven't seen many double note setups at all, honestly, and this one's got some very intimidating stuff behind it, starting with this maxed out duo Leif, and a maxed out in-season legendary Leif, other Leif, and a plus 10 Cecilia to round them out. This Cecilia was, I thought, going to be the really tricky part of this map, shortly followed by this legendary Leif, but I think this one's actually going to be able to do the most damage to Oliver, outside of the Note getting some chip in. They've also got an Eldigan, who is very nicely mill-proofed with 2 Notes bolstering his defense and double fortress skills, and a Triandra for extra dances. Triandra's usually pretty safe from isolation here, since you can only really isolate her on the very first turn. And if you try to avoid the turn 1, then you can't always actually continue isolating her with Milla. Which makes it good for us that we're planning to do this on turn 1. I'm a little sad that I'm not going to get to use the warp effect. I was initially planning to, but it doesn't quite work out with the movement if I want to start this on the first turn. Which I do. I'd like to make sure that we can kill Triandra here and not just have her dancing note later on. I'm going to start by moving air down and out of the way, and then we're going to take full advantage of Pathfinder to let Oliver move this way, have Peony dance him, and give him some buffs, and also give Milla the same buffs, since that barely lets her soak this chill res from Note. Oliver can then move up here. I'm not going to break anything yet, there's no need to. Then we can have Rayson move over, Milla move over next to him, and Dogger can use the orders buff from Peony to jump over Milla. And here we go. Yep. First thing that happens is that Note attacks. Cecilia will always be able to do damage, so I'm not too worried about her. Leif moves in next and can do a solid chunk of damage with his Brave Bow and Lull. But he's not going to survive Oliver's counterattack. Down he goes. Cecilia moves in next. She can do some damage, but since she doesn't have more Dragon Flowers, Oliver doesn't even need a full attack buff to take her down in one turn. Or a special, even. And then Leif moves in, and gets himself one-shotted. Sadly, we don't get to heal from him, since Fatal Smoke is a little annoying. But that's almost all of the damage we should take this turn. Eldigan wings in to dance, and Note can do some extra damage here. And it's still just not quite enough to punch through Oliver. And then Triandra is isolated, so she just wings in and heals us. And the last Note never gets a chance to move. That was a really great start to the match. It's fun to see that play out so well. I'm going to take this opportunity to knock out this first Note. Okay, that was real. That's fine.
Yes.
We can just have Rayson dance him, and then knock the Note out. Before we dance him again, and move him up here to intercept Eldigan and prevent him from reaching our precious Rayson.
Death's caress.
Air can move up here and get ready to start picking up Aether pots for us. And other than that, we're ready to go. Eldigan is very helpfully charging up, or I guess we already had Glacies charged, to handle the second Note when she moves into range. But the extra healing is appreciated. From here, we're just going to use this Glacies to wipe the second Note off the map. Down she goes. We're going to take one more turn to work our way up towards these pots before we close things out.
Let us go.
Yep. And Eldigan continues to do absolutely nothing. From here, we'll just smite Peony forward.
Yes.
Let Air pick up one pot. Peony pick up another pot,
Wait.
Let's tread
and
carefully.
then have Oliver close out the match. That one went really well. It was a little intimidating when I saw it, but I'm glad it worked out. Let's see what we get next. This match is going to be another fun one. I haven't actually seen a refined Dollywood on a defense team yet, so getting to see him at all is a neat event. They're backing him up with several threats, mostly this Lysithea, who can hit very hard, honestly. She's always been a very solid one-hit nuke. And they've got a variety of extra units backing them up, along with 3 mythics to boost all of their stats, and a second dancer to help them avoid isolation. I'm not expecting to have any real problems handling this. It should just be about cleaning some stuff up on the first turn and then letting Oliver go to work. I'm going to have Air break
Death's caress.
a couple of traps for us. I think that one's real.
Yes?
We'll dance her once with Raisin.
Yes.
Then we'll have her test this other trap and open up the Dark Shrine. We're going to be out of range of their entire team as long as we
Maybe
get
this
Air out of the way,
Let's tread carefully.
and that's not too hard to do.
The glimmer of life.
Right, boss.
And then we'll move Mila over one space to isolate Shriandra for next turn. From here, we're just going to smite Oliver and give him all the buffs he needs.
Flawless.
Move him over here and break this bolt tower so we don't have to worry about it later.
Let us go.
Dance him forward.
Don't you worry.
And actually, well, I say dance forward, but we're just going to leave him here, since Dollywood is going to attack first, since he won't die, and we want him to get his lunge out of the way so that we don't have to worry about it later. We'll just move Peony in behind to make sure that Oliver keeps all of his buffs,
Death's caress.
and we'll let Air just lurk over here for a little bit. And Mila can stay where she is. Isolation means that we can guarantee Dollywood never rallies, and Triandra will always attack once she's in range. So this moves in next, since she's the last one who can attack without dying, other than Idun, who won't be able to reach us this turn since this moved in. So this also very helpfully disables the special of Lysithea before she can use it to actually do any damage to Oliver, which means that Triandra moves in first, since she has less health to lose. Which doesn't really get anything done though. And Lysithea, well, the defense tile is not letting her survive this.
How frightening.
And down she goes. And then the rest of the melee just cluster in behind. Now that the ranged units, except for Xander, are out of the way, things are pretty simple to go from here.
Let's tread
Mostly
carefully.
because Oliver can just warp next to Raisin, then to take Dollywood out before he causes trouble in her backline. From there, we can dance him,
Got him.
and smite Peony back into position,
Don't you worry.
have him one-shot Sothis, then dance him one more time,
Don't you worry.
and then have him one-shot Node as well. And that's most of their team cleaned up. Iduna's never going to accomplish anything against him, since she can never double him, and he always pulse smokes away that iceberg. And Xander can't do damage to him, so all he's going to do is dance until we're ready to deal with him.
Yes.
Which means we can start moving air up here to help secure these
I
pots
bestow
later
my
on.
blessing.
One futile attack down. And then one more to follow it. From here we can take Xander out, which gives us mostly free reign of the map.
This is true beauty.
The
And
glimmer
means
of
that we
life.
can set up to take these ether pots next turn and close things out.
This. If you say so.
Maybe this way.
And we'll just let Oliver sit in place and tank.
Death's
Here can
caress.
pick up the first pot. Oliver can snag the second one.
Let us go.
Then we'll just dance him
Flawless.
and let him close out the match.
Here.
That was a fun one. It's been a while since I got to navigate around lunge threads, but it went pretty well. Let's see what we get next. This match is going to be another fun way to showcase Oliver's just kind of crazy bulk in this bonus week, starring another bonus week Byleth on their defense team. And he's backed up by 3 different mythics to boost his stats, including a bonus week Sothis and a Yune. And of course Note. They also have an Amelia on their team, who's very interesting to see. I haven't seen very much of her in a long time now, and not having her refine seems a bit strange to me. It's possible they just don't have enough due for it, but when she's +3 already, it feels like she would have been someone they'd refine. They've also got this duo Marth to enable their hindrance, and a Dancer Eldigan, who's kitted to dodge most Millas, at least outside of their bonus weeks. We could actually isolate him here, but I'm not planning to, since I'd actually like to count on him dancing Note at some point in this, which will let us enemy phase Byleths before he potentially causes problems past this first turn. We are actually going to get this started right away. It should be pretty easy for Oliver to handle things. We'll just move him here,
Caress.
break this fence,
If you say so.
smite him forward to tank the world. Oh, and test a trap for us. Very nice.
Yes.
Racing will move in to support him and also start moving Dogger out of the way.
Good
And then
morning.
Peony's going to dance Dogger again just to give Oliver a little more attack and res.
Like
The res
this.
doesn't do much for him against Byleth, but yeah, theoretically it helps against Yune.
Right,
He shouldn't
boss?
really need it there either. And here we go. So this will move in first, since, well, she doesn't die. I wasn't sure if it was going to be her or Amelia who'd move in first, but it doesn't matter too much. From here, Yune and Marth will both get themselves knocked out. But not before Eldgan moves over and dances Note. Note won't move right away, but she should eventually move out of the way, giving Byleth a chance to attack into Oliver.
Frightening.
Marth, meanwhile, just... yeah, that Glacies is not doing good things for him. Move over. Byleth attacks in.
You cannot stop the flow of time.
But what is time to beauty? Byleth, just, yeah. He doesn't quite have enough res to handle Oliver.
Flawless.
This turn's actually a little interesting because we're, I think, one speed short of being able to double this Amelia as is right now. So what we're going to do is pull a few shenanigans to give Oliver access to his solo skill. That's enough to punch through Amelia this turn. Oops, from here. It's not really necessary,
Stunning, aren't I?
but this does let us dense Oliver forward, and since we found the real trap last turn,
Let us go.
that means we can have Oliver move forward and take down Eldigan as well. Leaving him to tank Note and Sothis is actually a pretty good thing for us, since it means that we get to distract them far away from these ether pots, and close things out easily enough.
Maybe
Then
this
we're just
way.
going to move Peony up to support Oliver. I really should have danced him forward, give him a few extra buffs, but he should be fine here.
Yes.
And then Air can move up and open the way to that second pot. Note moves in and attacks first. Can do some damage, but it's not enough to really punch through Oliver's healing, and all Sothis does is heal him some more. And at this point, we really just want to make sure we pick up both pots before we close out the match.
Flawless.
Oliver can actually break both Note and Sothis here. We're going to start with Note, just to take advantage of Unity. And Glacies.
This is true beauty.
And with Note out of the way, Peony can jump up and dance him,
Let's
letting
drink
him pick up the
carefully.
first pot.
Got him.
We'll have Dogger move here, which gives Air Pathfinder and lets her pick up the second pot,
What now?
before Racing dances Oliver,
Flawless.
and lets him close out the match. That was a fun one. Tanking bonus week Byleths is just kind of funny to see. Let's see what we get next. This match is going to be a very fun rematch. It's another double Note setup with the Notes in the middle to enable their cavalry to stampede forward and ideally hit multiple targets and catch someone off guard. This Caeda is actually a very fun complement to the legendary Leif, who is maxed out. Well, 5 Dragon players short, but he's still very impressive. But Caeda's really good as a complement to him, since she can break a lot of armors that might normally try to savior their way through this. And of course, Sigurd, Duo Sigurd, is a pretty capable threat in his own right, especially if he gets a bond skill active to neutralize any penalties he might have from, let's say, our Tamari and Sabotage Riz. They've also got a +10 Eldigan over here, who's basically millet-proof, even in her bonus week. 67 defense is enough to keep him out of range of almost any of them. And they also have this +7 bonus week Sothis, who's pretty solid. I think she's going to have to wait for her remix, whenever they start doing mythic remixes, before she becomes really relevant. But we'll see. That shouldn't actually be too far off. I think they're going to start early next year. I'm going to take advantage of the safety fence to give ourselves a little bit of breathing room for this first turn, and let us get
Got him.
the Link and Wave skills both online.
Death's caress.
So what we'll do is just have Air break this tactic room, so we don't have to worry about it for later.
The glimmer of life.
Like
While we
this.
move Milla down here
What now?
to isolate Sigurd for the next turn,
Yes.
and then we'll
If
wait.
you say so.
One of the really fun parts of this approach is that Oliver should actually end up tanking this Leif while panicked.
Fearless.
And that's kind of funny since he's going to end up with a significant dent in his defense because of it.
Death's caress.
Yes?
From here, Oliver should be able to bait out
The
Caeda,
glimmer of life.
Leif, and Sigurd all at the same time, and since Sigurd's isolated, this Eldigan should always start the turn by dancing Note.
I bestow my blessing.
Maybe this way.
And we'll
It
just
will
move
be
Noah
done.
back to safety and let Oliver tank the world. Yep, Dance comes through and Caeda should be the first one to attack, which panics us. She can do a little bit of damage, which is actually very important since it disables their Sigurd's weapon. And while Leif can get some damage done, the panicked attack and speed buffs turn Oliver into a truly terrifying offensive threat.
Yeah.
And, well, with no buffs to lull and no 50% damage reduction,
Stunning, aren't I?
Sigurd gets himself wiped off the map. And from there, they can't reach us, so all they do is move forward a bit and reposition. From here, while we have handled all of the ranged units, the melee is a little bit tricky to deal with, mostly just because this Note isn't debuffed and is being stubborn about dying. So
I
we're
bestow
going
my
to
blessing.
hope that I've figured out
Don't you worry.
how this next turn will go, and we're going to start by just letting Oliver take this second Note off the field. It's not too hard for this one once we've got Unity active, since she's debuffed and, well, doesn't have as much speed as this one does. And we'll just have Dogger start working her way up here,
What now?
dance her,
Got
and
'em.
have her do it again.
Good morning.
We'll dance Milla,
Like
and
this.
move her this way,
Death's
while
caress.
Air stays put right here. So the first thing that should happen here is that Caeda will attack again, since she can panic Oliver. And does even less than last time. And then she should retreat. Yep. Get danced, and attack again. She can do more damage this time, thanks to panic, but she's never going to double him. And now she's stuck on the front line, and Note just finishes charging up her Glacies. So this moves up and flips Note back. That's fine.
Don't you worry.
Now we can just move over and one-shot Caeda with that pre-charged Glacies.
How frightening.
Before dancing Oliver and moving him up to take down Sothis.
It will
And
be
we're going
done.
to do a couple of shenanigans to safely bait Note forward.
Let us
And
go.
we'll move Oliver onto this tile. Okay, that tests a trap too, which is always useful. And we'll pick up our first pot and bait Note from out of range of her dancer. She's never going to do much damage to Oliver on her own. At this point, we're mostly just concerned about picking up this second Aether pot before we close out the match,
The glimmer
and
of
Air should
life.
be able to get us there.
maybe
We'll need to
this
take another
way.
turn to do it, though. So for now, we're just going to let Oliver tank note a couple more
Yes.
times, while we move air into position.
The glimmer of life.
And, well, that just means that we'll get to Glacies her next turn. Nope. There we go again. She can do some more damage this time without Rayson nearby to give him some extra defenses. But it's fine. She's still not going to be able to knock him out. And then from here, it's very easy for her to pick up our second pot
Don't you
before we have Oliver one-shot note. With a special thank you
Stunning,
for
aren't
her
I?
attack speed menace.
Let us go.
And then we'll let Rayson dance him and have him close out the match. It was a really fun match to plan out. Let's see what we get next. This match is going to be a very fun rematch with someone who brought a maxed out legendary Claude to my defense. Sadly, there's no Claude here, but they do have a fun squad involving a duo Leif. The first Yuri I've seen on a defense. It's already pretty impressively invested with Windsweep and Life and Death 4. This plus 10 near save Alphonse. Near save's an interesting choice for him. I don't know how well it works for him. I do actually think he's better off with far save. But he's still plenty bulky, and he can definitely get in the way of anyone trying to Gale Force their team. They've got their bonus weeks of this. A Note, who's very considerately donating a menace to our cause. This plus 10 Eldigan. And a Duo Secret to help muck things up. This match is going to take a few turns to sort out, but I think I've figured out how we want to start this off. While I could take advantage of this safety fence to just avoid the first turn and go in on the second, I actually don't want to, since this first turn is the only turn we're going to be able to isolate Eldigan, and I want to take advantage of that.
Yes.
So we're going to start by having Air move over here and disarm one trap. It's the real one. Excellent. And while I don't need to test this trap anymore, there's not really a good reason to change
What now?
my original plan. So we're just going to dance Air over a space,
The glimmer of life.
let her open this up for us. We're going to smite Oliver and give him a full set of speed and defense buffs.
Fullness.
Let him reposition Air back,
I
have
bestow my
Milla
blessing.
reposition him forward,
Good morning.
and then have Peony dance Milla,
Like
and use
this.
aerobatics to get her out of harm's way. From here, the first thing that should happen is that Sigurd moves up to dance Alphonse. But Alphonse can't actually do damage, so he's going to turn around and rally Note, who's actually the first one to attack. She can't really get much done. And all it really does is mean that Yuri moves in
You've had your fun.
and gets a little overconfident, attacking into Oliver. And the isolated Leif can't actually rally, so all he does is move up and get himself knocked out as well.
How frightening.
This Glacies hits. And nobody else can actually attack from here, so all they do is move forward. That first turn went pretty well, but we do still have quite a bit to clean up here, and this Secret isn't someone we want to give access to our backline if possible. So what we're going to do, even though we can't kill him outright right here, all we really need to do is charge up Glacies to finish him off. Thankfully, the 20 damage from Leif makes Note a lot easier to finish off. And then we can dance Oliver,
Let's tread
and let him take a
carefully.
crack at Eldigan. And those two attacks give Oliver a Glacis range to work with, and mean that he can just walk over and knock out Sigurd.
Yeah.
And with Sigurd out of the way, there's really not much left that can
Stunning,
do anything
aren't
on their
I?
team.
Death's
And
caress.
the board much cleaner than it was. You can get air moving
It will be done.
towards this pot, so we can start closing out the match. Sothis can't reach anything from here, so Alphonse is just going to attack us instead. And that's fine. He can't do anything to Oliver, and Oliver, well, can't quite finish him off in one round, since he's not working with his full spectrum of anything, but it's not like Alphonse can do anything about it. From here, primary goal is honestly just working on getting to these ether pots before we close out the match, and so this is an excellent candidate to just tank until we do.
If you
So
say
we're going
so.
to take a bit of a convoluted approach to this.
Maybe
Going to
this
Dance
way.
Dogger, and the extra buffs give
Don't you
Oliver
worry.
enough damage to finish Alphonse off without any problems.
Right,
From
boss?
there, we're actually just going to smite Oliver even further forward, which should distract Sothis up to here for the next turn.
I bestow my
Milla is
blessing.
going to flip her forward and
The glimmer of
help her
life.
pick up this pot. We're not going to worry about this bolt tower, it only does 25 damage, and Sothis isn't going to get much done
Let's
to
go.
Oliver. So we're just going to Dance Dogger
If you
and
say
move her
so.
out of harm's way. So this helpfully heals Oliver, and lets us continue pot hunting. Here, we just need to reach the second pot, and I think we can have her sneak around this way to pick it up.
Yes.
We'll just have her fly a little further forward.
What now?
Bryson can Wings of Mercy in to get her in range for next turn. And everyone's continuing to be out of range of Sothis,
Got 'em.
Good
so we'll
morning.
just buff Oliver and say go. And again, poor Sothis. I hope her remix does something good for her, she really does need the help. And with Oliver restored to full health,
Death's caress.
Air can pick up this ether fountain,
Let's tread carefully.
and we'll close out the match.
Admire my poise.
It's a satisfying rematch. Let's see what we get next. This match is going to be a bit of a quieter start to the end of the week. It's a rematch against someone who took a win pretty early on, so I wasn't quite sure what to expect, but 6-unit setups are actually kind of rare for someone who's hitting tier 38. Most people up here have actually sparked a note while she was sparkable, so it's not a terrible setup, honestly, for a 6-unit squad, since they do have a lot of overlapping threat between Leif and Lyn and Petra, and the ground orders give Stephanie enough mobility to catch up and dance people. The Vantage Noontime Mystic Boost Hell's a really interesting way to try and keep her weapon active. I'm not sure Noontime is necessary. Mystic Boost usually covers that on its own, but it's still neat to see. I'm not really expecting to have any problems with this. Oliver should be able to clean it out pretty easily. We're going to take a turn to set up, mostly just
I
to
bestow my
get these wave
blessing.
skills online,
If you say so.
Don't you worry.
and just shuffle everybody over a space,
Yes.
and have her start breaking her way towards these ether pots. And now with Nephany isolated, we can
It will be
just
done.
move Milla over one space, have Oliver break this flag,
Got 'em.
smite him forward into position,
Let us go.
use Pathfinder to let Rayson dance Milla,
Like
who can
this.
move over to safety, and we'll
Ready.
dance Dogger,
Right.
and have her smite Peony, and drive Oliver with some more attack and speed,
Caress.
and have her continue breaking her way towards the pots. Nephany actually jumps into attack first here, since she has the least amount of health. I think the Poison Strike might have given her some priority too, but I think it's mostly just the hit points, since the damage doesn't go through. Leif attacks next, and, well, is equally ineffective. Then Lynn probably goes in next, since, again, it's just going down the health chain.
Admire my poise.
And cancelling Oliver's buffs is nowhere near enough to let her do anything to him. And then it closes out with Petra attacking in, and again, not getting anything done. This is actually very considerate of them. Hell moving here means that we can just let Oliver knock her out without any problems at all. And then we'll just let Rayson dance him forward a little bit to bait Sothis into attacking him,
The glimmer of life.
while we let Air
Maybe this
I
way.
bestow my blessing.
move her way over to pick up the pots next turn. Double attack speed solo and bonus week still isn't going to be enough for Sothis to do anything to Oliver.
Yes.
And from here we can just have her break one pot,
Good morning.
dance her,
Death's caress.
pick up the second pot,
Don't you
and then
worry.
use a Glacies to close out the match. That Bright Shrine was actually
Beauty.
pretty helpful, since they didn't have an attack speed menace to exploit on this map. So we ended up getting the attack and speed bonuses from Unity anyway. Let's see what we get next. This match is going to be a fun way to close out the week with a Catria Ball. This Catria is actually pretty cool, since they gave her guard bearing, and that makes it pretty hard to pick her off easily in the player phase, especially when she's covered by a Farsave Nino. They've also got a Brave Eirika with a pre-charged Moonbow, and a Rally Trap to try and launch her into an enemy team, and two Dancers with Sigurd and Triandra to make sure that the Dance Trap goes off, even if you isolate one of them. And of course, rounding the whole thing out with a duo Leif and a note. This map's actually pretty tricky to approach properly, since the Farsave prevents you from sniping things effectively in the player phase to try and get rid of one of the two really key targets in Eirika and Catria. And this trap layout makes it a little tricky to get into position on the first turn if you don't have a safety fence to help you avoid it. We are going to take advantage of the safety fence to avoid any turn 1 shenanigans, and I'm actually not planning to isolate the Secret and Eirika, since I'd like to make sure we kill Triandra instead.
If you say so.
I'm going to take this first turn just to test these bolt traps,
The glimmer of life.
and once we find the real one,
What now?
it's not too hard to have Raisin pick up this bolt tower,
Ready.
dance there, and get her out of the way,
Yes.
It will
and
be
then
done.
have Noah move over to isolate Triandra,
Let's
while
get
Oliver moves
carefully.
over here to get his buffs for next turn. While he is going to be able to handle Leif and Triandra and Nino very easily, if I'm reading this map right, he's also going to end up tanking a triangle attack from this Catria. And that's going to get pretty spicy, since she can do quite a bit of damage with that moonbow, but it should be manageable damage.
I bestow my blessing.
Move Mila here, which
Good
lets
morning.
Peony aerobatics over and get Oliver all of his buffs.
Let us go.
Then we'll have Raisin move here and break the flower bed. And from here, we'll just say go. The first thing that should happen here is that Secret should dance, and then Eirika should end up rallying Leif and retreating into the corner. Oliver isn't concerned about the triangle attacks from, well, any of their ranged. He's got more than enough res to shrug them all off and knock them out on the counterattack. And since Triandra moves first, we don't have to worry about her weapon or the rain afterwards.
How frightening!
Down goes Leif. Poor guy. We've handled quite a few of those this week. Nino moves next, and... well, healing's not doing her much good when she gets one-shotted. Note should move next. And her position... oh, no, she got repositioned instead. That's almost a shame. I was hoping to tank this Catria, but oh well. From here, unfortunately I didn't move Mila to the left. It would have made things a little bit easier if I'd had Secret and Catria isolated here, but I really was expecting Catria to attack Oliver. But that's okay. We should be able to take this a little slowly from here. I'm just going to have Oliver take note down. And then we're actually just going to plant our feet and wait in place.
This way.
I bestow my
Oops.
blessing. It will
Just
be
move
done.
Noah over one more tile. From this point, we should actually end up baiting a rally and a dance, and then Catria shouldn't get anything done after that,
The glimmer of life.
which gives us plenty of time to just let air break a pot,
Yes?
and then we dance her
Death's
and move her
caress.
back down.
Got
We'll
'em.
just move Dogger over here and watch the non-action occur. Yep, and there's the dance. She should rally Catria here, yep, and then Catria just moves up. At this point, even though getting these pots is irrelevant in the last match of the week, we still want to pick it up for completion's sake. So we're going to start by just one-shotting Catria through her guard bearing.
How frightening!
It's a truly frightening Glaces. Then we're going to dance Oliver. And we're going to move him over here to bait Eirika forward.
I
That might
bestow
sound a
my
little
blessing.
bit much,
Ready.
but he's going to be okay here.
If you say
We can
so.
just have Dogger
Like
and Camilla
this.
use some aerobatics order nonsense to start clearing the way towards the second Aether pot. Eirika moves forward. She can do a chunk of damage with this
Keep
moonbow,
your eyes on me.
and it actually drops Oliver below half health. But without secret dancer. And the half health didn't last for very long. We just start healing all the way back up. And without that moonbow, or a way to actually double Oliver, he's never really going to get a chance to threaten him again. From here it should be pretty straightforward. We just need to stall for another turn while we make our way towards the pot.
Yes?
Rayson can help us reach that, and we can dance air to get her out of Eirika's threat range,
Yes.
while giving Oliver all of the buffs he needs to survive a turn. Oh. And again, Eirika can do some damage, but it's just not enough to break through Oliver.
Death's caress.
And then once we're ready, Air can break that pot.
Let us go.
We can move Rayson over one space to keep this unity enabled, and let Oliver close out the match in style.
How frightening!
It was a very fun match to watch it play out. Didn't think I'd have Oliver tanking an Eirika special this week, but overall this was an absolute treat of a week. It's been a long time since I put Oliver in the spotlight, and his bonus week is not something to underestimate. He's quite a menace, and it's absolutely hilarious to watch him in action. I should actually end up using him for most, if not all, of next week too, so that'll be something to look forward to. I do have a Discord channel, there's a link in the description if you'd like to hang out and chat, and there's also a Patreon page there if you'd like to help support the channel. As always, I hope you've enjoyed the video, good luck with your own matches, and I'll see you next time.